All right, everybody, back with another one. Today, we're going to take a look at some trending news items, dive a little bit into something that Ron Paul had to say about the tariffs. Obviously, there's a big tariff war going on between Trump, in America versus Canada, Mexico, China, some of the other major companies that we trade with. And Ron Paul has been a big advocate for restoring the Constitution to the United States. And, his time in office was served well in the sense that he really created a big movement for, bringing back freedom, bringing back our constitutional rights, waking people up to some of the stuff that was going on in the government for a while and giving us a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. Since he was in Congress for quite a while, he was like one of the few people that actually held public office that was willing to tell the truth about some of the stuff that went on behind the scenes and some of the injustices and actually speak out against these people during his time there. He didn't get much done because he was kind of by himself, like I said in the past. There was not many politicians that would stand with him because back then things were very, very polarizing, where you had the right was mostly just rhinos and the left was, pretty much just Democrat liberals. Very few people were more center, like Ron Paul was, or if anything, more libertarian party or outside of the two-party system. But now you have this whole Trump party, the MAGA movement, that's inside the Republican Party. So it's sort of like there's two parties within the Republican Party, the, MAGA people and the rhinos. There's just a lot more conversation about this type of stuff now that Trump is in office. And as opposed to, how it was back then when Ron Paul was in office. But we're going to see something that he had to say about the tariff situation, to weigh in on it from his perspective, maybe give an outside perspective of some of the talking points that you heard so far. We're going to see a little bit about what happened with the InfoWars reporter that was murdered in, I think it was Austin, Texas. So this is an article from Ron Paul. I think the original was on his website, and then I think he collaborates with InfoWars, so they share his content there as well. So right in the headline, his point is that tariffs are theft, and that's completely understandable. He's not wrong in the sense that a tariff is just a form of a tax, and a tax is theft of people's, money, basically. America is very anti-tax. We were founded on that. The only taxes we're really supposed to have are sales tax, and it's supposed to be a very, very small percentage of the, products that we buy and sell, so that we can use those funds to stimulate the economy and, provide funding to the government to be able to have financial resources to get, things done, whether we need roads or, investing in any of our, public parks, things like that. The money's supposed to go back to the people's environment, our living environment. And then, of course, a small amount is there for the politicians to get paid a salary so that they could do the jobs that they do. But it's been completely inflated over time because they found more and more ways to tax us. Now, anything is a tax. If you look at, your income statement from your job, your paycheck, there's so many taxes listed on there. When you pay all of your bills, you're getting additionally taxed. If you look, there's all these little taxes that are itemized on the bill typically. That's additional taxes on top of the fact that you've been taxed from your job, and then your post-tax money is paying taxes on goods and services for products that you consume, bills that you pay every month. And then on top of that, you have other taxes as well. You have property taxes, you have income, federal and state taxes at the, in April each year. That's on your post-tax money. So you're paying additional taxes on top of already being taxed. And then you have other things that are taxes that most people don't even see as taxes. Like when you drive on the highway or go over a bridge and you pay a toll, that's an additional tax. And that's tax on your post-tax money from your job. So you're being double taxed. Taxes, if you look at all your bills, they all have taxes on them for their goods and services, like phone bill and electricity and all these things that you pay on a routine basis that we all pay. they have small taxes listed, itemized on the bills. If you ever look at your bills, you can see there's all these surcharges and taxes. These are all taxes by the government. Sometimes they don't even call them a tax, they'll call them a surcharge, which is basically a tax from the government that is put through some sort of, you know, deal or bill that they passed that puts pressure on the companies to now have to push that onto their customer, and they hide it under the name surcharge, but it's actually an additional tax. And, you know, so many other things too. Funny, these are all taxes, and we don't look at them as taxes because they're clever in the way that they call them, you know, what they call them. They're not always labeling them as a tax because they don't want the Americans to think that they're being taxed in all these different areas, but that's what they are. They're taxes. You're paying on your income. You were already taxed before you get your paycheck. You know, typically, most people are because they work a typical 9-to-5 job, and they will get taxed on that money. Then they pay taxes for all the goods and services that they use, and including, like, you know, you're paying for, like I said, tolls and things like that. You know, you're paying parking, you know, fees for, you know, parking in any major city typically has like meters on the street. That's a tax. And then you're additionally paying income tax in the year after being taxed all that money. You still have to come up with more money out of your remaining income. This is all theft. And if you actually add it up, most people probably don't do the math, but if you added up how much you were being taxed, it's definitely not what you think you are. You know, you might think you're being taxed 30% because that's what they take out of your income, you know, from your paycheck. But if you add all the taxes you pay throughout the year, you might realize you're actually being taxed 50% or 60% collectively for everything that you're paying. So these are all things that are unconstitutional and unlawful. This is not supposed to be the way it is on the American people. This is why people are struggling in America and in other countries in the world. It's not because prices are high, and it's not just because our money is being devalued. It's because mainly taxes levied by the government. They're putting taxes on the American people that they have to pay. So we're paying the government to fund all of these operations, all of these projects and programs that they put in place, and calling it all these special names like the Green Deal or the Energy Deal, or, you know, whatever thing they make up, they'll call it like the Happy Fun Deal. And in it will be so many taxes that are, you know, basically related to the American people, but not called taxes, called some special name like, fun money or something. And the American people just, you know, pay their bill. These are all taxes. They're all unconstitutional. So I understand the place that Ron Paul is coming from. He's making the case that all tax is theft. And he's right. From a constitutional standpoint, all tax is theft. The only taxes we're supposed to really pay are sales tax, which is fair because it's just enough money to help the government fund their operations so that we could have a military and we could have many other things that we need as Americans to, you know, pay the bills to keep this country running and, you know, keep our lives going well. But you could eventually tax people into poverty. And if they continue down this road, the people who are in the government at the top that are stealing all of our money, they'll drain us. Then there'll be no more money to take from us. And then will lead into a time of chaos where the people will no longer pay the government any money. The government will have to start coming after the people physically, and that could break out into, some sort of civil retaliation or something. Or they'll just keep taxing us into oblivion where we'll become a poor nation, no longer able to support, our lifestyles. And then we won't be able to support the government to, have these projects that we need, to continue like keeping our streets safe, our roads, and everything running and operating correctly. And, so many other things that we need to take care of as a nation. And eventually, that faucet will turn off. It won't be enough to fund these operations. And the country will eventually turn into a chaotic place where everything is run down, falling apart, and we just won't, have the nation that we used to be anymore. And then eventually someone else will become the superpower who's doing it the right way, and they will beat us out, and they will become the dominant country in the world. So, this could be a problem for us in the future where we could actually tax our nation into poverty to a point where either there's a revolution, or our nation just completely crumbles and falls apart and we're no longer number one. So I do understand what Ron is saying here, and we'll take a little bit of a look at what he says. The U.S. and China came closer to full-fledged trade war last week when China imposed tariffs of up to 15% on key U.S. agricultural exports. This was retaliation for President Trump's increasing of tariffs on China's exports to the United States from 10% to 20%. So now he went from 10% to 20%. They hit us back with a 15%. So, you have to understand too, Ron is great because Ron is coming from a place of a pure libertarian constitutionalist. What is the right thing to do based on what the Constitution says? Well, what you also have to remember is the Constitution is a living document. It's made to not change, but to adjust to the current situation that we're living in the current time, right? Things in life change. Some things that we used to do back in the day are no longer relevant because we've evolved technologically, scientifically, economically, whatever. So you have to apply that same set of rules to what's going on today. What Trump is doing is he's coming from a place of, yes, what's constitutionally correct because he has to stay within the lines. Otherwise, the Democrats and his opposition could say, he's doing the wrong thing. He's breaking the law. We're going to come after him again. So he's staying within the confines of the lines of the rule of law. But at the same time, he's negotiating because he's a businessman. He is negotiating and using these tactics to put pressure on other countries to, basically have us get to a point where it's fair for everyone. We're making money on trades and imports from the countries that we do business with, and likewise there as well. Trump's actually a very fair guy when it comes to business because he knows that you can't screw over your customer or your, clients or even your partners because eventually it comes back to bite you anyway. So he's not walking in as a dictator trying to, put tariffs on all these other countries and basically, tax them into oblivion so where they crumble and we succeed. Because in the end, if they're our trading partner and they have, they're not financially or economically stable enough to continue to trade with us, it will hurt America's bank account as well, right? We'll lose money also because our trading partners don't have enough money to trade with us, or they don't have enough money to invest in their products that we get from them. So we get less from them, and now our country starts to suffer. So Trump is not coming from a place of, let's tax these countries into oblivion with these tariffs, and then we'll take all their wealth and we'll have it. That's a lose-lose situation. Nobody wins that way. Trump actually is pretty level-headed. He's a reasonable guy when it comes to that stuff because he understands that you need to work together and there needs to be a win-win situation so that everybody gets something out of the deal. If they're not happy, they're going to try and find ways to, screw us. Likewise for us. So, he's trying to use this as a negotiation tactic to put pressure on them to start playing fair because they've been getting away with this stuff for so long. He's trying to just get them to play fair and come to a conclusion where we work everything out. Now, will there be some economic downturn for a while? Absolutely. We're already seeing it now. The stock market is tanking. It's down, very low from where it was just when right before he took office. So you could definitely blame a lot of that on his administration, but he did tell everybody ahead of time that there is going to be some pain. There is going to be a period where we go through a little bit of suffering in order to get to the light at the end of the tunnel. I think a lot of people in America, because we're such a nation of prosperity, we're so used to, and especially today with social media and the internet, you're so used to having everything we want at our fingertips immediately. Like, there are people who even get annoyed that their Amazon package got delivered in 2 days instead of, the day they ordered it. That is not good for a nation because we become so spoiled that we end up becoming weak, right? We want to remain strong. And in order to do that, we have to be able to endure difficult times. If we can endure this economic downturn, we will be okay in the long run. We just have to give Trump a little bit of time to implement this stuff. Now, if we're in year 2 of his administration and things are still not working out, absolutely, this is a problem. Then we need to, put pressure on him to make a decision where, we get to the negotiation table and come up with a conclusion faster so that we don't have to go through such horrible times. But I believe that this, he's negotiating right now. We're probably going to see this economic downturn continue for the first 2 quarters of, 2025. And then you might see things pick up again in the second 2 quarters to where things get a lot better for the nation. And some of this stuff that he implements starts to actually pay off. 2026 might be a better year overall because, it'll be, it'll probably end up being far enough away from all this stuff where we really start to reap the benefits of all of these things that he's putting in place. But I understand what Ron Paul's saying, and I understand Trump's position. I guess we'll see what happens because this is actually like a silent war in a way. There are the two biggest countries in the world, America and China, are fighting over, who is going to win on this situation of something that will lead to their further prosperity, right? China wants to beat America and become the world superpower, and they want to, be more prosperous than us. So some of this stuff doesn't work for them because it hinders that. It slows their growth down, which is what America and Trump wants. But at the same time, America needs to keep growing as well and keep prospering as well so that we remain in power. And the two are at a battle right now, at a power struggle, because they're both fighting to, America's fighting to stay number one and China's fighting to be number one. That's what this really comes down to. But these trade wars are also going on with other countries like Canada, Mexico. And we're going to see how this all plays out. It's really like America versus the world. But that's kind of what happens when you're the pinnacle nation, when you're the top. It is everybody always coming after you because they're trying to take your first place prize. They want to be first place. So they're always going to compete with you and try and get to number one. There's a lot of people in the world that will be weak and they'll say, no, just, do what they want. Let them win this one. And those are the people in life who probably never win anything. They're always second or third place or last. They're not true winners in the sense that they win number one. But that's not what Americans voted for. Americans voted for somebody to be a leader and for somebody to win for us so that we could continue to prosper and be the pinnacle nation. Many American consumers who are struggling with high prices are concerned that President Trump's tariff policy will further increase prices. It will. And that's part of the struggle period where we're going to have to deal with that. We're going to have to deal with higher prices going up. But the best way around this is actually to support small and local businesses. This stuff actually affects the bigger companies more sometimes because they are dealing with so many different layers in their business, right? You have a lot of middlemen, you have a lot of trading partners, you have a lot of, people that they work with that if they're affected, it's a chain reaction. But a lot of times when you work with smaller local businesses, they're not as affected because they're doing business locally and they're keeping it to a small group of people that are all working hand in hand to prosper together. But, for example, like if you have a local farmer and that local farmer is raising their own chickens and they're producing eggs and they're taking those eggs to the local farmer's market and selling them to the customer, there's not that many layers in that business model. So the farmer just has to recoup enough money to pay for his initial investment of the feed for the animals and the maintenance of them. And then the rest is his for profit. A bigger business is going to have many, many layers. They're going to have so many employees that work for them that they have to pay for, health insurance, benefits, things like that. They're going to have, business partners that they work with, a company that they buy the feed from, and everything just at a larger scale to get the product as an end result to the customer that they're charging roughly the same prices, maybe a little bit less than the small and local farmer is. So, the farmer is able to do more with that money. Their profit margin is going to be higher because they have less overhead costs. And that's all a chain reaction that affects the end result customer. So sometimes those businesses can actually charge less money than the big corporations. They just can't deliver in such a high volume as the corporations. That's why they have trouble growing and keeping up. But sometimes it's a lot better to just support small and local businesses and a lot of this stuff really wouldn't occur as much. You really wouldn't be affected. Like, I know a lot of local farmers, they're not, nor have they ever had an egg issue or a shortage during this whole time. But all the big companies, I've seen egg shortages at every supermarket. The shelves are empty. They have signs saying we're having trouble sourcing egg suppliers, but they're not getting them from the small local farmer. And then I go to the small local farmer and I'm able to get, you know, 6 dozen eggs with no problem for a lower price point than what the supermarket's selling it for. Um, so, if you want to avoid some of the high prices that are going to be an outcome from these tariff situations, then the best thing to do is maybe find ways to cut your bills as much as possible, and then also look to support small local businesses that are charging a little bit less than the big companies are, even if you are not able to keep up with the volume of what you're normally used to. He goes on to say tariffs are paid by U.S. businesses that wish to sell the imported goods. When tariffs are increased, the importing businesses try to recoup their increased costs by increasing prices. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is going to be a result of all of this. But as Trump said, it's going to be a little bit of a pain period. Tariffs are paid by U.S. businesses that wish to sell the imported goods. When tariffs are increased, the importing businesses try to recoup their increased costs by increasing the prices. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a natural result of all of this. But as Trump said, that's just going to be a little bit of the pain that we're going to go through in the beginning to fix the economy overall going forward. And I think that's what Trump's plan is. We'll see how well it works out. Defenders of tariffs, including President Trump, claim that revenue from tariffs can be used to offset the revenue government loses from tax cuts. Yeah, that's the plan. And see, here's the thing. I think this might be part of Trump's bigger plan and he's mentioned this before, so I believe he is, definitely considering it. I think he's planning on reverting things back to the way they were with the, founding of this nation, where Americans paid very little taxes and it was all just transactional sales taxes. Because he said he wanted to abolish a lot of different types of taxes. But more importantly, I think his overall goal is to abolish the IRS, which would be a miracle. And I think because in the beginning, we have the IRS, but we're going to have these tariffs. So what's going to make it really difficult for people to comprehend is that we're having both at the same time. So you're not getting the benefit of the taxes being taken away, but you're also getting the difficulty of the tariffs coming into place and affecting the economy short term. I think Ron Paul might actually be pleasantly surprised at all of this, depending on how things go. Obviously, Trump is going to have to work with Congress to really make this stick, because it's not as easy as just doing an executive order. He could do that, and as soon as he leaves office, the next president can completely reverse it, and we go back to everything. And 4 years is not really a long enough time to see the true benefits of something like this. It would take a while for it to actually show in the economy how effective it is. In the short term, it might actually look like it's not effective. So, if it's only for 4 years, that could actually hurt the concept of it, because if this doesn't continue after Trump's term, then there's a good chance that people will say, we tried the no taxes thing and we tried the tariffs thing and it doesn't work. Let's go back to the taxes. And then they'll just continue to accept the government taxing us into oblivion. But I think if Trump is successful with this in this first year of 25, I think if he abolishes the IRS, gets rid of all the taxes except sales tax, and maybe one or two other, small taxes that we've deemed necessary over time. And then, uses the tariffs as a way to either negotiate with certain countries or to just set the stage, make things fair for us because they're tariffing us. I think if he implements all that in 25, by the end of his term, we may see some serious results from all that. And at that point, once the American people get a taste of it, I think it's going to be really, really difficult for them ever go back to a place where we blindly and willingly accept taxes from the government in many different, forms. Um, so, not going to read the whole thing, but Ron Paul's position is basically that, you know, taxes in any form are bad. And I agree with Ron. Ron has, basically pushed, he's the, main person really in popular culture in the modern day to push to actually audit the Fed and then eventually end the Fed. And I think he even wrote a book called End the Fed. I read it years ago. And, you know, he definitely is against that stuff. He's very pro-Constitution, bringing things back to the way that they were, as am I. But, you also, like I said, the Constitution is a living document. You do have to evolve with the modern day and see, not everything that the founders did was perfect, because life is changing. Like, we're constantly evolving and growing. And if they saw the world today, the way that it is, the way that it operates, they might have thought differently about some things. Now some stuff does carry over because they kind of foresaw certain things evolving in a certain direction. But you can't predict everything. And so I think that if this works out well, if Trump is able to implement both, where he abolishes the IRS, gets rid of all the major taxes, and implements the tariffs to where they're fair, to where we're tariffing other countries equally to what they're tariffing us, and we're still able to be good trade partners, I think that this could work out really well. And I think at that point, the American people might actually really get a taste of that freedom again, and get a taste of that understanding as to why the founding members of this country had that situation with the Boston Tea Party back in the day, when they, got rid of all the tea in the Boston Harbor because of a 2% tax at that time, which is so insignificant compared to what we're paying today. But I think people will finally start to realize why that was so important to them. In other news, obviously, you've probably heard by now, one of Alex Jones's employees for InfoWars, I believe he was a writer named Jamie White, was actually murdered in Austin. And this is all over the news because, people are suspicious of, what had actually happened. And the truth is, I don't think we really know all the details, but this is what they're saying. This was a tweet, I guess, at some point from the man who died, Jamie White, how he's grateful to Alex Jones and all that stuff about, fighting to continue InfoWars on. And then Alex Jones posted, on his platform, Band.video, "We're deeply saddened to inform you that InfoWars reporter Jamie White was brutally murdered around midnight Sunday night, in part to the policies of the Soros Austin, Texas DA." So he's basically making the point that because of the bad policies of the politicians in that area, they allowed crime to skyrocket, all types of people to, walk the streets that maybe shouldn't be, that maybe should be in jails or deported. And because of that, this gentleman was murdered. Now, this could be anything. It could just be an attempted robbery that went wrong and they ended up killing the guy. Or it could be an actual assassination, where they were either trying to, take him out for whatever reason, that maybe involvement that he may had, or that they were trying to send a message to Alex Jones. Who knows? And it's kind of weird for them to kill some random employee, when they could go after and target Alex Jones specifically, or a member of his family or close friends. I don't know how close this person was to him, but I know, just because conspiracy people on the internet are always, antennas are always going up. They're probably already, I've seen some of them say how he was clearly murdered in an attempt to, send a message to Alex Jones. Now, that could be the case. We don't know. There's a lot of crazy people out there. But I would say that's probably speculation at this point because, we don't know the situation. We don't know how involved he was with Alex Jones, and if murdering him would even make sense. In order to send a message to Alex Jones, is it enough of a message? Maybe there's a lot of questions. So I would just say we'll have to wait and see how this unfolds. But I did see something new come out recently. So this is basically saying Elon Musk was on the same Ukrainian enemies target list as murdered InfoWars journalist. So let's take a look at this.
And Alex Jones. These are the people targeted. And right here, Jamie White. And the statements he made exposing Soros, the CIA, USAID, and all of them. Who else is on the list? Elon Musk is on a Ukrainian government enemies violence hit list with the American that ran their information service, the fat man in a wig. Pull him up. I forget his name. Saying, "Oh, we're going to come after you in America. We're going to come after you in your country." That's him. Sasha Ashton Cirillo. And there's videos of this dude who was running the enemies list for the government on national TV in Ukraine, saying, "We're coming for Senator Josh Hawley. We're coming for Jack Posobiec." There was a criminal investigation opened on this psychotic for threats to a U.S. senator. You know, when you're on a hit list and the person that's the spokesperson for it says, "We're going to get you, Senator Hawley. We're going to get you, Elon Musk. We're going to get you, Jack Posobiec. We're going to get you, Alex Jones." And then your reporter leaves and gets shot through the neck. I want a federal investigation of it. But regardless, have you even heard Elon talk about being on this list? I bet he doesn't even know. And I know inside baseball that there have been a bunch of people coming to town recently trying to get him. Nobody knows that. We have major updates on the murder of InfoWars journalist and good personal friend of mine, Jamie White, Sunday night outside his home in South Austin. I want to recap what we know and give you the latest information. And then we're going to look at the reporting Jamie did that got him put on the Ukrainian NATO enemies hit list and who else is on that list. And this is a microcosm of the administrative war that the whole Soros DA system is involved in, and then the whole Soros, USAID, CIA proxy war in Ukraine, and the U.S. citizen over there recruiting fighters that then came back with all this dark money and CIA connections, a Democrat operative trying to kill Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and the people going after Musk. So let's drill into it right now. Elon Musk was on the Ukraine government NATO-sponsored enemies list, and we had Ukrainian information officials famously then go on television, one of them the man-to-woman tranny, and saying, "We're going to come after U.S. citizens, including Elon Musk, Senator Josh Hawley, and others, and myself. I am on the list." So here's Jamie's report on being put on the list, and then they listed the articles he wrote about USAID, Soros, and the CIA funding illegal operations in Ukraine. InfoWars and Alex Jones named an enemies list compiled by Ukraine group linked to U.S. State Department. Here's Jamie's tweet about being put on the list. "I'm on the Ukrainian enemies list due to my work at InfoWars and with Real Alex Jones on Ukraine proxy war. The group who compiled the list is tied to the U.S. State Department, USAID, CIA, and Soros." This is from June of 2024. June 11 to be precise. Then he links through his reporting that put him on the list because they mention it. Who else is on the list? Elon Musk is on the Ukraine enemies hit list with the information officer who's American saying they would come after people in America. That they would come after Musk, Alex Jones, Elon Musk, Senator Josh Hawley by name. Look at this whole dossier they've got. Elon Musk, person, businessman, social media influencer. And they go through it right there.
Okay, so apparently he was on a hit list. Apparently, I don't know where they got the hit list from. I didn't know that countries publish their hit lists online. Not saying that it's not, credible information. Obviously, Alex Jones does his due diligence and he's very thorough. So, if they have a list on that, maybe they got some intel. But it's interesting. I mean, maybe because of his reporting on Ukraine, maybe somebody did decide to do that. It doesn't really seem like a smart thing to do, especially with Ukraine negotiating with Trump right now to work out some sort of peace treaty with Russia and end the war for both of them. I don't know why Ukraine would kill some, to them, random reporter in America that's not anywhere near their country and not anywhere involved in the Trump administration to send a message to them. Seems a little bit, you know, of a unique undertaking with very little outcome from their point. If somebody's trying to send a message to Alex Jones, maybe that would be the way to do it because he said he was a close personal friend of Alex. So maybe that was a way of them sending a message to Alex Jones. Is it, the Ukrainian government or rogue elements in Ukraine? Who knows? I guess maybe information, more will come out later on at some point as the investigation unfolds. But seems a little bit, at least just from this first day of hearing about this, because I believe this was all just released today. It seems like it doesn't really make much sense from that standpoint for Ukraine to do that. Maybe it was somebody who has it in for Alex Jones because they've been trying to take his platform down for years. Many, many different politicians and corporations and all different types of people hate him for the reporting that he's done over the years. They've tried to, sue him into oblivion and just bankrupt him. I think he still owes like $2 or $4 billion for a lawsuit, which, by the way, is unconstitutional. His company does not make that much money. They're not $1 billion company. So that would be considered cruel and unusual punishment under the Constitution, which is unlawful and unconstitutional. So you can't basically fine somebody more money than they have. That's excessive. You're basically trying to enslave them for life. They have to pay down that debt forever. And that's like I said, cruel and unusual punishment. It can't be done. So that lawsuit, just in the way that it worked out, was kind of ridiculous anyway. A lot of shenanigans that was going on during that whole court proceeding, at least from what I've seen. But the punishment alone, to me, tells that something fishy is going on there, because you can't charge somebody that much money, more than their business is worth, more than their personal wealth combined. It just doesn't make sense, other than to try and financially ruin him for life and keep him out of the media industry. So clearly people have it in for him, for sure. There are people who hate him, hate his work, and hate the type of stuff that he's been exposing, and have been trying to shut him down for, basically 1 or 2 decades. But if it's gotten to this point where now they're assassinating people around him to send a message, that's not good. And, thinking about it now, it could make sense, because they tried to assassinate Trump twice. I think the deep state and some of the, rogue elements of the government are definitely at a point where they probably feel backed into a corner, and they probably feel as though, as a last-ditch effort, we have to do something to stop these people from exposing us and getting away with this, because if we don't, they're going to end up coming for us in some way. Either that's, flushing them out, exposing who they are by name, and actually, taking them to court for, pressing criminal charges on them, or if it's, some sort of revolt against these people for what they've done to the American people. Who knows? Who knows what that future looks like? But they seem, some of them at least, like they're very worried. And, the assassination attempts on Trump's life show that they definitely felt this was a huge threat to them and this could not happen. And now that he's in office, you've got politicians fighting every day, trying to stop him, stop Doge from, uncovering the fraud. And, if this is true, where somebody assassinated a member of Alex Jones' staff, to send a message to him, then that's not a good point that we're at in society, where the opposition is taking violent action now in order to, get their way. That's the type of stuff that leads to revolutions. That's the type of stuff that leads to people retaliating, with physical violence. And that just, causes a chain reaction where you could have some sort of, actual civil war. So we don't want things like that. We definitely want to work things out. And, unfortunately, criminals are always going to continue to be criminals, and they're not going to accept the fact that if they're committing a crime and the law comes after them, that they have to face the consequences of their actions. They're going to do anything they can to, not do that. But unfortunately for them, the only way that we can make sure that we maintain law and order in this country is to prosecute the criminals and make sure that they are convicted if found guilty. So we'll see what unfolds with this story. It's a shame that this happened to this young gentleman. I guess whether it was a typical robbery gone wrong or if it was an actual being a message being sent to Alex Jones. Either way, it's sad to see that this person was caught in the middle of that. So that's pretty much it for this video. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Like I always say, we got the videos on YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify. So listen where you like. Don't forget to, we post like short clips on Instagram and X. But don't forget to stay tuned for the end of the video where we have a little ad about some of the products that we have for sale. My children's book, which is available on many different platforms and in some physical bookstores throughout the country. You can find out more about the bookstores if you do want to support local businesses. Like I said, you can check my Instagram out and see my posts, which bookstores might be local to you. So you can buy directly from them and help out a small business. But we also have many different things, an apparel shop where a percentage of our profits go to charities, and the Amazon storefront. And just support the channel. Help us continue to grow if you find the content interesting. And put in the comments section videos that you'd like me to do, topics that you'd like me to cover, whatever it is that you'd like to see, put it in the comments. Let's talk about it. And even if you disagree with the videos, put that in the comments too. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with anybody. So that's it for this video. Stay tuned for the next one. All right, everybody, I just want to take a moment to promote my children's book. This is Little Boy Full of Love. That's me on the back. And this is a little sneak peek on the inside. It's a great book. It's a children's book. I actually wrote this for my son, and it's available right now on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, bookshop.org, and a lot of other online platforms. But more importantly to me, it's actually available in a lot of bookstores throughout the country. You can find out which ones are closest to you on my Instagram page. We highly recommend that you shop local, buy from a local bookstore. So if you are looking to, get a children's book for you or anybody you know, or even with the holidays coming up, it's a great time to, buy a children's book as a gift. Definitely get it from a bookstore that's local to you. But if you absolutely can't get it from one of the bookstores that are currently carrying it right now, and we're in about 15 or 16 different states across the country, so it may actually be in your state, and it could even be local to you. But if you can't get it from the physical bookstore, check out our Amazon storefront. The book's available on there right now. And like I said, with the holidays coming up, you may want to do your Christmas or Hanukkah or holiday shopping early. And you can even order it from our Amazon storefront and ship it directly to whoever you're gifting it to. But it's available on those platforms, Amazon storefront and bookstores and other websites that I mentioned. But I want to take a moment here to look at the storefront just to give you an idea of some other stuff that we have available on there, these are products that we highly recommend. They are things that we use in our daily lives, and it's all organized by category. So it's a lot easier to, shop for the holidays and specifically for things that interest you, particular categories. Available right now, many different items on our storefront. If you can see here, 61 items just in women's apparel, fall decor, because right now we're in fall, 26 items, kitchen items, baking specifically, things for around the house, children's toys, even stuff for parties. If you're trying to save money on a party and throwing your own, occasion, you can even buy some cool gadgets here to help you, put on a better party. Health and wellness items here, even stuff for Christmas. And there's the book right there. So you can get it from the storefront. You can get it from the bookstores, like I mentioned. But it's available on all these different platforms. It's really easy to find and gift to somebody. Also, I want to show you the apparel shop, and these are some clothing items that we actually produced. So if you're looking to get some cool apparel items, shirts, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, leggings, even accessories, cell phone cases, women's makeup bags, fanny packs, coffee mugs, all different types of stuff, even some, art, all different categories here, apparel, homeware, accessories, drinks, even digital items. It's all on this store, healthybodygoodssoul.com. Anything that pertains to you or somebody that you're looking to get a gift for the holidays. A lot of great designs on here, a lot of cool designs that we actually custom created. Stainless steel water bottles, especially now with the fall and winter. A lot of cool hoodies and long sleeve shirts. This is a really cool one, I think, for women. The original Be Your Soul apparel, that one's actually really popular. People tend to like that. This one's one of my favorites. The free shirt. It's the American flag and it says free and that says not property of the United States government. That one's pretty cool. Got all different types of tank tops, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, tote bags, coffee mugs, even some items for kids, backpacks. So if you're the type that likes to, plan ahead, I would definitely recommend ordering from the Amazon storefront or the apparel shop within the next couple of weeks to get everything in time for the holidays. Use code SAVE15 on the apparel shop to save 15% off everything on the storefront. So order within the next week or two and you'll definitely have everything in time for the holidays. Definitely check out all the links to everything, the Amazon storefront, the book, and the apparel shop in my bio on all my platforms, Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify. But you can also find them in all the show notes for every episode that I post and get all your orders in time for the holidays. All right, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It helps the channel continue to grow. And put in the comments things that you would like me to talk about and make videos on for the future. And I will definitely do my best to do that. Stay tuned for the next one.